Part 47. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 461. Zibao lived with Feng Qingxiu in the Cheng family for more than a month. During the day, Cheng's father and Cheng's mother took care of him. Everyone in the compound knew him when he came in and out, not to mention the neighbors outside. These days, chubby children are rare, and this is the only one who is both white and fat. The fat double chin is really attractive. Seen by 10 people, loved by 10 people. As soon as Wang Quilin entered the back street of the compound, she saw the little fat man sitting upright on the small bench in front of Chen Xuanyang. He held a golden fruit stick in one hand and was biting it with his 4 milk teeth like rice grains on the left and right. Take a bite. Father Chang, Lu Tianjun, and Chen Xuanyang stood next to them, and Chen Xuanyang was holding a golden fruit stick in her handkerchief. In the distance, Xiao Yan was lying beside the door, drooling. When Wang Quilin saw this, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. She took out a piece of chicken cake she had just bought for Zibao from her bag and waved to her, Xiao Yan, eat it in front of me. If your mother asks you, just say I gave it to you. Xiao Yan quickly ran up to it and thanked her tenderly. She held it in her hand but was reluctant to eat it. It took her a long time to take a small bite. Hurry up and eat. If your brother sees it, you won't get it, Chen Xuanyang reminded kindly. Passers-by were walking around. She dared to give Zibao to Xiao Yan, but she didn't dare to give it to Xiao Yan for fear of being beaten by Wang Erniu. Xiao Yan paused. Xiao Yan smiled sweetly at her and ate the cake faster. She knows who treats her well and who treats her badly. Although her mother beat her every day to prevent her from getting close to Chen Xuanyang, she was not stupid. If Chen Xuanyang hadn't secretly stuffed her with some food, she would have starved to death like Damo's sister. Yesterday, her mother accidentally saw the residue on the corner of her mouth, which made her scold Chen Xuanyang. In fact, it was not her who said it, and she refused to admit that it was her brother who made the complaint. Ms. Quilin, where is the fairy from yesterday? I saw a beautiful fairy at your house yesterday. After Xiao Yan finished eating, she licked the residue on her hands clean, then patted her satisfied belly and began to ask curiously. Speaking of this, Xiao Yan, are you feeling better? Has the fever gone? Wang Quilin said, reaching out to touch her forehead. The fever was gone. Although the fever is gone, the weather is changeable in spring. Wear more clothes, don't let yourself get cold. And Dad, it's a bit cold in the morning and evening, so don't take Zibao for wandering outside. After hearing what his daughter-in-law said, Father Cheng pointed at Zibao and said, we have to wait until he moves his legs. The little guy doesn't want to go back, and it's useless for anyone to hold him. He won't find his mother until he has had all the fun. Before going out, he ate a bowl of pig liver puree. When he saw Chen Xuanyang taking out the golden fruit stick and shaking it at him, he seemed to have never eaten the previous meal. He stumbled to the ground with his 2 fat legs. He tilted his face forward and almost stopped drooling, but his teeth were not strong enough. The golden fruit stick could only be used to grind his teeth, and it was covered with his saliva. Wang Quilin squatted in front of Zibao. Zibao immediately turned around and continued to lower his head and lick the golden fruit stick in his hand. Wang Quilin was stunned. Is he afraid that I will take it away? Lu Tianjun held back his laughter. Zibao has always protected food, not just any ordinary food protector except for Feng Qingxiu. No one could take away a little bit of food from his hands. He was anxious about whoever wanted to eat his food. He was so anxious. The whole body is trembling with fat. Vice Mayor Zhu was walking by, pushing a clanking old bicycle, which immediately caught Zibao's attention. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 462. Yeah, Zibao pointed at the bicycle with a golden fruit stick in his hand, eyes full of curiosity. Lu Tianjun knew what he was thinking at a glance and said with a smile, "This is not our bicycle. Our bicycle is in the house. It is new. Can my brother take you home to ride the bicycle?" A wooden seat made by someone was tied to the back seat of the bicycle, with cotton cushions inside. Zibao liked it. After hearing this, Zibao took back the golden fruit stick and continued to put it in his mouth to grind his teeth, but had no intention of getting up and going home. Vice Mayor Zhu laughed loudly. "This kid is so cute, and his reactions are so funny. It's rare to see such a clever kid. He will definitely be a clever ghost when he grows up. Uncle Chang, let me tell you, you two elders are really stupid. You were rescued for nothing. They saved your two elders' lives and gave you a little great-grandson as a gift. Not everyone has this kind of luck," Father Cheng said with a smile. "Why do you get off work so early today?" Wang Quilin stepped back and Vice Mayor Zhu stepped back, but Cheng Baoqiu was nowhere to be seen. "It's Saturday, aren't we spending the afternoon like this? There's nothing to do at work. Apart from drinking tea, chatting and reading newspapers, why not come back?" After Vice Mayor Zhu finished speaking, when he saw Wang Quilin, he suddenly remembered something. "Comrade Quilin, I'd like to ask you a favor." Wang Quilin stood up and asked what was going on. "Those who can agree will not refuse, and those who cannot do it will definitely not agree." Vice Mayor Zhu said, "See if there are any suitable girls in the mining bureau and introduce them to my brat." When Wang Quilin heard this, she said, "Hey, I have never been a matchmaker, so I don't dare to agree casually. There is no good candidate at the moment. It's not like you don't know the current situation. There are more men than women. In which unit are you a regular employee? Lesbians are not hotcakes. No matter what the world is, most people pay attention to being well matched. City people don't want to marry country people because they are afraid that they won't be able to support their family with one job and one ration of food. Unemployed urban girls are a little better off because of the ration standard. It would be better if they have a certain diploma. They might be able to apply for jobs when they are recruited, but they are far behind compared to the urban girls who have formal jobs now. Who doesn't want to marry a girl who has a job and an urban household registration? Double wages and double rations are much better than raising a family alone. So, every town girl who has a job is hot. Wang Quilin is not willing to work as a matchmaker and is worried that the couple will blame her if they don't get along after marriage." Seeing Vice Mayor Zhu's expression, Cheng's father hurriedly said, "The person introduced by my predecessor, Secretary Huang, failed. I remember that Secretary Niu's wife also introduced two people, right? My head hurts just thinking about it." Vice Mayor Zhu looked helpless. "The brat has not made any achievements at work, but he has very high standards. He wants to find someone with good looks and a high level of knowledge. I wanted to find a girl from the urban area who had a job, and also wanted to find someone with outstanding temperament and conversation, but my mother and I were so angry. I liked the two girls that Secretary Niu introduced to me, but he thought this girl had dark skin. I thought that guy was short, so Secretary Huang introduced him and said he had nothing in common with him." At this point, Vice Mayor Zhu let out a sigh. "My mother and I usually have nothing in common. I talk about work matters, and my mother talks about firewood, rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and tea. Isn't that half a lifetime? Life is just about eating, drinking, and having diarrhea sleep. It won't be his turn." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 463. Wang Quilin smiled slightly after hearing this. His father, "You are the deputy mayor, with a high rank and high salary. He lives in the municipal party committee compound. He is a college student in the capital and has a bright future at work. It is inevitable that he will be picky when it comes to marriage. Don't be angry. Wang Quilin comforted her unsympathetically. If you look slowly, you can always find a perfect girl in Yagui's eyes. Vice Mayor Zhu sneered, shook his head and said, I'm sorry. No one is perfect, want to find someone who is. How can it be? As a father, he could say this, but as an outsider, Wang Quilin could not agree with it, otherwise it would not end well if it reached the ears of Deputy Mayor Zhu's wife and son. Vice Mayor Zhu's wife Lu Kuihong is fierce, while his son Zhu Yagui is arrogant and does not like to hear criticism from others. Chen Swiniang was very eye-catching and hurriedly handed the golden fruit stick and the handkerchief holding the golden fruit stick to Wang Quilin. I see that Zibao likes to eat it. You can take it back to grind his teeth. Go back and tell his mother not to dislike it. What's there to dislike? Nowadays, everyone is equal and no one is nobler than anyone else. Chen Swiniang is upright and kind-hearted. In Wang Quilin's opinion, she is a good comrade. What happened to her background in a brothel? When she was marching and fighting with Cheng Baoqiu, I had never seen anyone of any kind of background. How noble. Senior cadres in the military still marry divorced women. Chen Swiniang felt very comfortable after hearing this. She liked to deal with straightforward and cheerful people like Wang Quilin. Although Feng Qingxiu looked gentle, her tone of voice was exactly the same as Wang Quilin. If she had a choice, she wouldn't want to go into a brothel and suffer all kinds of pain and humiliation. Thanks to the new China, thanks to the leaders, they have liberated the whole of China, they have liberated all mankind, and they have also liberated women like her who had to fall into the world of prostitution. Although it is a little harder to support themselves now, she can finally call herself a good family woman. Vice Mayor Zhu listened to the ladies chatting, nodded to Cheng's father, and pushed the bicycle through the back door. When Feng Qingxiu came to see her son with her cotton vest, she happened to hear Wang Quilin say to Chen Swiniang, I won't go to work tomorrow. I want to go to their Wanglu brigade with Qingxiu to dig wild vegetables. Will you go? Chen Swiniang was stunned and said hurriedly, I do want to go, but I don't know if Qingxiu welcomes her. Of course you're welcome, I'm looking forward to it. Feng Qingxiu likes to make friends with whom she can talk easily. A hero never needs to ask where he comes from. See? I said Qingxiu will definitely not dislike it. Wang Quilin finished. They saw Feng Qingxiu putting on a vest for Zibao, while Zibao lifted up the golden fruit stick that was stained with his own saliva and had tooth marks, and stuffed it into Feng Qingxiu's mouth. Mom, mom, mom. Ah, Feng Qingxiu pretended to take a bite, but actually nothing went into her mouth. Zibao, eat it. When she was buttoning Zibao continued to lick, taking a bite while licking. His little deciduous teeth were grinding, and finally the golden fruit stick was broken. The teeth were not fully grown, so he could not bite and turned around in his mouth. After a few rounds, he finally spat it out with a sigh. It's such a waste. It's not a good boy who is wasted. Feng Qingxiu took the golden fruit stick out of his hand, not caring that it contained her son's saliva, and stuffed it directly into her mouth, chewing it and swallowing it. Yeah, Zibao stared blankly at his empty hands. Wang Quilin laughed so hard that her stomach ached. When Zibao looked at Chen Swiniang, she immediately wrapped the golden fruit stick in her hand. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 464. Chen Swiniang spread her hands towards Zibao. I don't have any anymore, little darling. Yeah, Zibao's voice was very low. Feng Qingxiu picked him up and said, it's a bit cool outside, Sister Chen, let's go back first. We'll gather at the back door tomorrow morning. When we arrive, our Wanglu brigade must not dislike our Wanglu brigade for being dirty and smelly. I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it, Chen Swiniang smiled happily. Can dirty and smelly things be more dirty than people's hearts and smellier than people's mouths? The best and most beautiful things in the world are the human heart, and the dirtiest and stinniest things are also the human heart. Thinking of the scene of digging wild vegetables and the kindness of Feng Qingxiu and Wang Quilin, Chen Xuanyang prepared a big bamboo basket for herself with a smile on her face to carry the wild vegetables back. After thinking about it, she packed 2 kilograms of cornmeal in a small cloth bag and put it in the bamboo basket, and put the half pack of gold fruit sticks left at home into it. Still dissatisfied, Chen Xuanyang hurriedly bought a pound of candy and a pack of walnut cakes while the grocery store was not off work. The basket was covered with a piece of cloth, so no one could see what was inside unless they had sharp eyes. When I went out early the next morning, I saw Wang Quilin also carrying a bamboo basket, Feng Qingxiu carrying a backpack, Lu Tianjun pushing a bicycle, and sitting on the wooden seat in the back seat was a fat baby wearing a tiger head hat. Fill the seats to the brim. The spring mornings and evenings are very cold. The fat baby is wearing cashmere clothes and pants, a thin red cotton vest and black corduroy crotchless pants, and tiger toe shoes on his feet. He is excitedly twisting around on the seat, and every mouthful of his mother. Except for her mother, Wang Quilin seemed to have never heard him say anything else. "Does Zibao only call her mom?" she asked. Feng Qingxiu chuckled, "He's so stupid that he can only call me mom. I've been teaching him to call him dad for a long time, but he still can't do it now." Chen Xuanyang asked curiously, "What does the child's father do? Or does he farm at home?" "His father is a soldier and is currently stationed at the border." After hearing Feng Qingxiu's words, Chen Xuanyang was in awe. Soldiers are good. Without soldiers bleeding, we can only shed tears in the back. I am a hero and a good man, and Zibao will be the best in the future. Don't praise him so much, the tiger father still has a dog son. While talking, the group of people walked out of the back street and passed through an alley. Suddenly they met a young man and woman walking side by side. The man had a faint smile on his face, and the girl was shy and timid. In the mist, there was like a flower of water. Flowers. Feng Qingxiu recognized the man at a glance as Zhang Yi, who was on a blind date with Zhao Mingfang. Now it seemed that they were still on a blind date. Zhang Yi obviously saw them too, and immediately came over to say hello, Aunt Quilin. Wang Quilin looked at him carefully and said, "Zhang Yi, what are you doing here so early in the morning?" "Oh, you are meeting the person, right? I remember it was the person introduced to you by Secretary Huang." "Yes." Zhang Yi glanced at the girl next to him, "Her name is Zhou Yulan. I will take her to the department store to buy something." Everyone present heard this and understood that they fell in love with each other, so they went out shopping. Seeing the look of a man and woman in love in front of her, Feng Qingxiu unconsciously thought of how similar it was to the scene before her when she and Lu Zhang met on a blind date and Lu Zhang took her shopping. Before she could finish her thoughts, she heard footsteps coming from behind, followed by a girl. It wasn't anyone else, it was Zhao Mingfang. She rushed to Zhang Yi and slapped him. "Zhang Yi, what do you mean? You didn't take me to the department store to buy a plum blossom watch, but you took her there? Are you worthy of me? It's so tiring to open both doors, I want to cry." Oh, back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 465. Zhao Mingfang's speed was so fast that people were completely caught off guard. Moreover, no one probably expected that she would take action. A slap fell on Zhang Yi's face. Zhang Yi's expression was particularly ugly. Zhou Yulan's smile disappeared and her face turned pale. She looked at Zhang Yi's face worriedly, with distress in her eyes. Zhao Mingfang hit her very hard, and her 5 finger marks were particularly special. Not to mention clearly, her nails were long, leaving 4 scratches on Zhang Yi's face, with bloodshot eyes looming. Zhao Mingfang became angry and wanted to hit her again, but Zhang Yi grabbed her arm and pushed her away hard. However, she naturally stood in front of Zhou Yulan, Comrade Zhao Mingfang, what do you want to do? What am I doing? What are you asking me to do? Zhao Mingfang pointed to her nose. Ask what you are doing. Zhang Yi said sternly, of course I know what I am doing. I went shopping with my partner, and we have already made it clear in front of my relatives and friends. Comrade Zhao Mingfang, you are not qualified to question me. A month or two ago, you and I, although we met under the introduction of an elder, I felt it was inappropriate afterwards. I only have a salary of 27 yuan a month, so I can't spend hundreds of yuan to buy you a plum blossom watch. I have already tactfully asked the matchmaker Huang. The secretary expressed my opinion, and the other party said he would tell your parents. The plum blossom watch is an imported Swiss watch. Although it does not require a ticket, its price is extremely high. It is second only to Rolex and Omega, and is about the same price as Grand Roman and Inerge, at least 200 to 300 yuan. If it is a domestic watch such as Shanghai, Gemstone Flower, Chunlin, etc., he grits his teeth, then saves up, tightens his belt, and buys it. It just so happens that he has a watch ticket and a sewing ticket in his hand to prepare for the wedding. I finally got it after begging my grandpa to tell my grandma. I didn't expect that Zhao Mingfang had such a big appetite, and when he opened his mouth, it was like a plum blossom watch. At the state-owned hotel, the two sisters who came to eat did not offend her at all. She opened her mouth and cursed people who came from the dunghill. Zhang Yi felt very uncomfortable. Although he and his parents both worked in the city, his grandparents and uncles, they all farm in their hometown. According to this, when I was a child and lived with my grandparents, I also crawled out of the dunghill. Taking care of the face of both parents and the matchmaker, Zhang Yi did not directly state the real reason. He only said that the two were not suitable and had different views on various aspects, but Zhao Mingfang disagreed. She fell in love with Zhang Yi, and she thought it was a good fit. Zhang Yi is the son of Secretary Zhang, a member of the Standing Committee, and she is the daughter of the district political commissar, so they are well matched. In terms of appearance, Zhang Yi is handsome with thick eyebrows and big eyes. She is also a famous beauty among the municipal party committee members. She is much prettier than Zhou Yulan. Zhao Mingfang glanced at Zhou Yulan with disgust and cursed, Zhou Yulan, you shameless vixen, you clearly know that Zhang Yi is my partner, and you still go shopping with him. I must report you for having sex. Zhou Yulan's expression suddenly changed, and she said in a trembling voice, Zhang Yi. For them, lifestyle is very important. If someone reports her in such a name, she will not live. Zhang Yi said angrily, Comrade Zhao Mingfang, please keep your mouth clean. Let me repeat it again. I expressed my intention to Secretary Huang more than a month ago. Secretary Huang expressed his understanding. Between you and me there is no relationship, it's just a one-time meeting. If I feel it's inappropriate, there will be no contact. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 466. I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. Zhao Mingfang acted violently on the spot, almost rolling over, with an extremely stubborn look on her face. Once you meet me, you are mine, and I won't allow you to marry anyone else. Especially if this Zhou Yulan is not as good as me. Let's go tell your parents and my parents now that we are getting married, and you tell Zhou Yulan to get out. She reached out to grab Zhang Yi's arm, but Zhang Yi blocked her. Zhou Yulan couldn't listen anymore, turned around and ran away, sobbing and tears falling on the ground for everyone to see. Zhang Yi turned around and was about to catch up, but Zhao Mingfang stretched out his arm to stop him. Get out of the way, Zhang Yi said harshly, his eyes turning red. I won't get out of the way. Zhao Mingfang was very proud. Zhou Yulan doesn't want you anymore. Zhou Yulan is gone, so she knows the truth. Let's go to the department store together. Plum Blossom watches are not expensive. You are the son of Chang Jiaoguan. Why? Can't afford it? I heard from my mother that your parents have prepared 300 yuan for you as a wedding fund. I've seen the Plum Blossom watch and it's less than 300 yuan. Zhang Yi shook off her hand that was holding his arm, took 3 big steps back, and said rudely, Comrade Zhao Mingfang, don't you understand what I say? I'm not suitable for you. I just don't get along with you. Continue, I mean, please don't ruin my good deeds. Do you understand? If you don't understand, I can repeat it 2 or 3 times. Zhao Mingfang covered her ears and shook her head violently, I won't listen, I won't listen, I won't listen. Whether you can hear it or not, I hope your parents can give me an explanation for this matter. Zhang Yi was fed up with Zhao Mingfang to the extreme. If he had known better, he would not have agreed to meet her. Where? Think of her as such. Zhao Mingfang smiled and said, of course my parents will give you an explanation, that is, the explanation for our marriage. Feng Qingxiu and others who were watching were convinced. Was it because they deliberately misunderstood Zhang Yi's meaning? Still don't understand? They didn't intend to get involved and wanted to walk over quickly. However, Zhang Yi and Zhou Yulan were already in front of them. Now Zhou Yulan turned around and ran away. Zhang Yi and Zhao Mingfang, who was pestering him, were still stuck in the middle of the road. Zhang Yi glared and said more than a few words, as any further words would only delay the pursuit of Zhou Yulan, so he simply left. He finally understood now that Zhao Mingfang was not only rude but also had a mental problem and could not understand such simple words. Maybe it's not that I don't understand, but I just don't want to understand. Zhao Mingfang had been on guard against him for a long time. She opened her arms to block him again. With a roll of her eyes, she pulled open the front of her clothes and broke the buttons on it. She opened her arms and said, you dare to take a step and try it? It was very cold when she woke up in the morning. She was wearing a sweater underneath and a woolen coat outside, which actually did not expose her breasts. But, enough is enough. Zhao Mingfang was very proud and felt that her method was particularly useful. Zhang Yi, if you dare to pursue Zhou Yulan, I will tell people that you acted like a gangster to me. If you have played like a gangster, you will not want me anymore. Then you turn around and marry Zhou Yulan. I think Zhou Yulan will agree to marry you. Zhang Yi's face was ashen and he was furious. Zhao Mingfang, do you want to be shameless? Does your father-in-law know that you are so despicable and shameless? You and I go to buy a Plum Blossom watch, and I want face. I have face, and so do you. Otherwise, see if I dare. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 467. Zhang Yi had no choice but to turn around and ask Wan Quilin for help. He understood the seriousness of the crime of hooliganism better than anyone else. And Quilin. He hoped that Wan Quilin and others would testify for him and help him get out of trouble. Although Wan Quilin is only the director of the mining bureau, she is very likely to be promoted to deputy director, and Cheng Baoqiu is the second in command in the city, second only to Secretary Niu, and is also the cadre most likely to succeed Secretary Niu. The most important thing is that everyone in the compound knows that they were once revolutionary soldiers and have inextricable connections with the upper echelons of the capital. Comrades are the most ironclad love. Only then did Zhao Mingfang notice the few people she had passed before. When she saw Feng Qingxiu, who had a red scarf wrapped around her head and face, but still couldn't hide her bright and beautiful features, her face changed drastically. Why is it you again? Yeah, why is it you again? Feng Qingxiu also had a bad expression. After seeing what Zhao Mingfang did, she finally understood why her uncle said that Zhao Mingfang had lost his mind. He is really ignorant and shameless, so shameless that he thinks he is very good. Nothing good happens every time I meet you. You are such a nuisance." Zhao Mingfang rushed to her and almost pointed her finger at Feng Qingxiu's nose, but Feng Qingxiu slapped her down hard. "You dare to hit me, do you know who I am?" Zhao Mingfang was so angry that her eyebrows stood up. Feng Qingxiu said coldly, "Why are you still saying that? Then I will reply to your original words. You don't even know who you are. Come and ask me. Do you think I might have an answer for you? Zhao Mingfang, try it with your fingers again and see if I chop off your hand." Zhao Mingfang was so frightened that she immediately retracted her hand and put it behind her back. Zhang Yi hugged Feng Qingxiu from a distance, as if to say thank you, then turned around and ran away, while Zhao Mingfang was only focused on dealing with Feng Qingxiu and did not realize that her target had disappeared. Wang Quilin endured the pain in her stomach, coughed, and pretended to be serious and said, "Zhao Mingfang, you are very capable." Zhao Mingfang turned to Wang Quilin blankly, her expression changing, and finally turned into a stiff smile. "Aunt Quilin, is it you? Why are you here and standing with this vixen?" She pointed at Chen Swiniang, with a look of disgust on his face. Chen Swiniang's expression didn't change at all. She had long been used to this kind of scene and this kind of words. "Zhao Mingfang," Wang Quilin scolded and said sternly, "who taught you to say these impolite words? It's just like this in front of me, and you can imagine it in front of others. Another day, I have to have a good talk with your parents. The son does not teach the father. However, I am highly suspicious of their character and work for allowing my daughter to behave so wildly, and I feel that a thorough investigation is needed." Zhao Mingfang said unhappily, "What does it have to do with my parents? Aunt Quilin, please don't wrong them, and don't treat me badly because of Feng Qingxiu. Do you know that she is very mean to my mother and me? They were all bad. When I came back from their house last time, my mother and I walked all night, which scared me, made me tired and hungry, and my father and my mother even had a fight. Because of her, if it hadn't been for her, my parents wouldn't have quarreled, and Zhang Yi wouldn't have gone to see Zhou Yulan." Feng Qingxiu was confused. "What does it have to do with me? You really want to incriminate me, so why bother? What does it mean to inflict a crime without excuse?" Zhao Mingfang didn't understand, but it didn't stop her from expressing her dissatisfaction. "Feng Qingxiu, you are indeed the same as Chen Swiniang, with the same name and the same person, both vixens." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 468. Before she finished speaking, Feng Qingxiu slapped her across the face. Crisp and loud, with obvious slap marks. Wang Quilin, Chen Swiniang, and Lu Tianjun didn't expect it, and were slightly stunned. Only the little fat man clapped his hands, his face was red with excitement and his whole body was shaking. He desperately wanted to crawl out of the seat, babbling to support his mother in beating the bad guys. Lu Tianjun quickly supported the excited little fat man. Feng Qingxiu stared at Zhao Mingfang coldly. "How dare you scold me again? Let's see if I don't smash your bad mouth." Although a gentleman speaks but does not take action, even a gentleman can't talk to shameless people. She couldn't suppress the anger in her heart, not to mention that she never considered herself to be a gentleman. She was a villain and a woman who was difficult to raise. She would attack anyone who dared to insult her. She is a good person, why should she endure other people's filthy words? When facing a person like Zhao Mingfang, just one word: slap her in the face, hit her hard, hit her to shut up, hit her to be afraid. It is more effective than any words. One force can reduce 10 points. Zhao Mingfang's head turned away all of a sudden. She covered her face and slowly turned around, with tears in her eyes. She looked at Feng Qingxiu in shock, her lips trembling several times. "You dare to hit me? My parents, you haven't hit me yet, how dare you hit me?" Feng Qingxiu sneered. "You say another dirty word, do you think I dare you? I dare to beat you until your parents don't recognize you. His face was cold and his aura was formidable. A trace of fear flashed in Zhao Mingfang's eyes, and she ran away crying. Her departure made the whole world quiet. Wang Quilin, the person who opened the courtyard door and poked his head around in the alley, turned his eyes. They smiled and quickly retracted their heads. Who wouldn't be curious about such a huge movement just now? It's really a big show, and I can talk to people about it. Zhang Yi and his partner Zhou Yulan were shopping, and Zhao Mingfang, whom they met before, came to cause trouble. Oops, what's wrong with your style? But Chen Xuanyang said worriedly, King Xiu, Zhao Mingfang is just like her mother, aren't you afraid of them taking revenge on you? Sister Chen, do you know her? Feng Qingxiu asked. We know each other, why don't we know each other? Wang Fengmei and I work in a textile factory. After leaving the alley and the city, there was no one else on the road except them. Chen Xuanyang lowered her voice and continued, her father, Zhao Yide, I used to his former wife was actually mad at him, so now Wang Fengmei feels like she wants to eat me when she sees me. Regarding the past, Chen Xuanyang did not mince words in front of close friends. What's ridiculous is that so many people keep calling themselves vixens, but they don't know that the root cause lies with men, not her. Without men, how could Huajie Xiang be born? Which girl is born unwilling to be a good woman, but instead sells herself for fun? Wang Quilin said sternly, it has passed, so don't think about it anymore. The persecution of women in feudal society has become a thing of the past. You are still young, and you will have decades of good life in the future. Chen Xuanyang smiled and nodded, agreeing, yes, my life is so long, I will definitely live it well. I am very lucky, although I was not born in a family with a loving father and mother. I did not have a normal life when I was a child, and I ate all the food. I suffered a lot from the madam, and had to sell my body in the chaos of war and feasting when I was young, but I am very glad that the leader liberated us and rescued us, so that I did not end up like many of my predecessors. I like violent solutions. Slapping someone in the face is the best way to relieve hatred, so I don't understand why some people endure it again and again when facing people who insult them. Isn't it enough to just beat them down? Please vote, I need monthly tickets and recommended tickets, 11 yat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 469. Talking and laughing all the way, we soon arrived at the Wanglu Brigade. There were not many adults there, only children playing around. When they got home, Lu's father and Guan Cheng were not there either. Lu Tianzi, Guan Yu, Feng Qingyun, and Song Gang were playing at the door. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu played the willow flute, while Feng Qingyun made 2 garlands of wickers and put them on her and Song Gang's head. Song Gang smiled at her stupidly, Auntie, you are so kind. Idiot, I'm your aunt. If I don't treat you well, who will I treat well? After finishing speaking, the old-fashioned Feng Qingyun raised her head and arranged the wicker wreath on his head. When she saw her sister, she jumped up and said, Sister, sister, Zibao, Zibao. You are back. Waving his hands, running and jumping, he was in front of him in an instant. Yeah, Zibao happily stretched out his upper body, which had taken off his vest, and reached out to his aunt. Zibao! Zibao! Feng Qingyun shouted happily. Lu Tianjun took Zibao out of the seat. The little guy leaned forward and grabbed the wreath on Feng Qingyun's head. He burbled and slid down excitedly, finally standing on the ground. Seeing Zibao walking towards her with short legs, Feng Qingyun said in surprise, Zibao can walk, great. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu arrived one after another. After greeting Feng Qingxiu and Lu Tianjun, They also politely said hello to Wang Quilin and Chen Swiniang under Feng Qingxiu's introduction, and then rushed around Zibao. Zibao, Zibao, do you still know me? I am brother Tianzi. I am brother Guan Yu, Zibao. There's still me, Song Gang, who had short legs and walked slowly, finally arrived and said not to be outdone. Zibao was so happy that his fat face turned into flowers. He looked at this and that. No one in the world was busier than him. Children like to play with children. Feng Qingxiu explained to Wang Quilin and Chen Swiniang, let's go home for a drink of water. We have been walking for 3 or 4 hours, but we are all very tired. After dinner, let's dig wild vegetables. Neither Wang Quilin nor Chen Swiniang refused, they were indeed tired. Feng Qingxiu said to Lu Tianjun again, Tianjun, watch them take the Zibao and don't go to the river. And, let me help you cook, Lu Tianjun said. Feng Qingxiu patted him on the shoulder, our mothers are here, so you don't need to go and watch your brother. Xiaoun, please slow down, where are the adults in the family? Are you coming back for lunch? Feng Qingyun held Zibao with one hand and waved the other hand behind her back, we have all gone to the 2,000 acres to plant peanuts and sweet potatoes. Isn't it time for spring plowing now? If we don't come back at noon, Uncle Lu, Guancheng, and Grandma Su has brought dry food. Grandma Su and Guancheng steamed a big pot of wild vegetables yesterday. Lu Tianjun wanted to work in the fields to earn work points, but he was afraid that his brother would not be able to take good care of Zibao, so he had to suppress a little guilt in his heart and followed his brother. Watching Zibao having fun, he even pulled out many willow leaves from the garland. Lu Tianzi blew on the willow flute that had just had its core removed. The clear sound made Zibao reach out to him. Chen Swiniang sighed, it's so good. Scenes like this probably only exist in paintings or dreams. It's because of the better life in our Wanglu brigade that our children are so carefree. I'm especially glad that I married into the Wanglu brigade, married Lu Zhang, and have such a group of lovely and sensible children, Feng Qingxiu said. After finishing, he pushed the bicycle and pushed open the half-open door, Auntie, Sister Chen, please come inside. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 470. Fortunately for Wang Quilin, she had been marching and fighting for many years and it was extremely difficult. However, Chen Swiniang grew up in a brothel and had been living and working in the city since liberation. She was very curious about the Lu family inside and outside. After drinking the water, she followed Feng Qingxiu to the private plot. The spring leeks bloom early, and they are cut by the wind and snow and put into the basket. We'll have a leek box for lunch, and the leftover leeks will be taken back to the city. Sister Chen, you can also get some when the time comes. Chen Swiniang smiled and thanked her, then pointed to the ridges on the ground, it's covered with straw mats, what's buried underneath? Feng Qingxiu looked back and said, danduzi, also known as potatoes. Potatoes have a high yield and are hungry. Every household will plant more than half of their private land. This is the time to plant the soil. Hey, why do you have a whole head of garlic planted in the ground at home? Chen Swiniang noticed the garlic seedlings that Feng Qingxiu was pulling out. Compared with the thick, fat, tall, and strong garlic seedlings around her, the garlic seedlings in Feng Qingxiu's hand were thin and long. I just planned to eat it at this time, so I planted the whole head of garlic. The garlic sprouts that came out were relatively small. The garlic sprouts that were planted in the first year were too old to be eaten, but you can see if the garlic sprouts have sprouted, Feng Qingxiu explained. Garlic sprouts have indeed grown, but not many, only 20 or 30 sprouts. Feng Qingxiu pulled them out one by one, and picked a bunch of lettuce leaves. Sister Chen, let's go. The three mothers were busy choosing vegetables and making noodles for a while. Feng Qingxiu grabbed a small handful of the chosen leeks and shook them again and again to get rid of as much water as possible. He shook all the leeks in this way, then chopped them into pieces and mixed them with some fried eggs. Stirring the leek filling, he said, choose clean leeks, wash them, and let them dry for a day. Now that we are making leek boxes, there will definitely be a lot of water in the vegetables. Even so, the chive box she made was praised by everyone. There were fried garlic sprouts and lettuce leaves on the table, but no one took their chopsticks to eat the leek box. Sister, won't you give it to Uncle Lou and the others? Feng Qingxiu touched her sister's head and said, silly girl, we all work together and eat together. Doesn't giving a box of leeks make people gossip behind their backs? Leave a few in the cupboard for them to eat when they come back at night. But, it's okay, give one to my cousin. Wang Jiao must have stayed at home without going to work because of taking care of Gaodan. After saying Cao, Cao was here. Wang Jiao called the door outside. She knew that Feng Qingxiu would come back every week. He had brought her delicious food before as compensation for not being able to take her to eat at a state-owned restaurant. Lu Tianjun opened the door, and Wang Jiao came in holding He Buliakai's dog eggs. Feng Qingxiu almost didn't recognize her. Feng Qingxiu exclaimed, cousin, you have lost a lot of weight. Although she has not completely returned to her wedding figure, her graceful curves are fully exposed. She is very slender, weighing more than 100 pounds at most. She is also wearing old clothes before marriage, and her appearance is outstanding. If you don't have meat to eat, of course you will lose weight. We only started raising piglets in the spring, and there are no live pigs in the city. Yuejin kills 1 or 2 pigs every few days, and the supply exceeds demand every day. He can only bring back 4 taels of meat every month, which is not enough. The boss was staring at the gap between his teeth, and a drop of water could not reach him. Wang Jiao looked at the guests in the room, saw the leek box, swallowed her saliva immediately, and accused, Xiaoxiu, you have something delicious to tell me. It's so bad, I have to do the work at home and take care of the dog egg as you say. Cousin, don't talk about sister. Sister just asked me to give you a leek box, Feng Qingyun interrupted. After Wang Jiao heard this, she immediately smiled and apologized to Feng Qingxiu neatly, I'm sorry, Xiaoxiu, I wronged you. You are indeed the best person. You made the leek box thinking of me.